Good afternoon. This is Sean Golding with Golding & Golding, here to discuss the basics of FBAR penalties. This is an update. We've spoken about it a few times over the past 5 to 10 years, but with the recent court cases and just some bad information out there, a bunch of fear-mongering and scaremongering and all that kind of jazz, let's go through the basics again and where we're at. It's 2023. We're in tax season, and then there's the FBAR, right? The FBAR is used to report foreign bank and financial accounts. It is referred to as FinCEN Form 114, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, but it's rarely if ever a crime. It's an electronic form. It's due April 15th, but it's on automatic extension until October. You'll want to double check that as you get closer to the April due date, just to be sure, right? You don't want to miss the due date. The FBAR is used to report lots of different accounts. It's not just bank accounts, so that's a common thought. It's bank accounts, investment accounts, life insurance policies, foreign pension plans, not US pension plans that have foreign assets in it, like a 401k or an IRA, but your superannuation, your CPF, your SIPs, and all that kind of good stuff. FBAR penalties, right? So let's say you're required to file the form and you didn't, and the IRS fines you, or maybe they haven't yet and you're worried about filing late. There's two main categories, and that's civil and criminal. Criminal is super rare. So if you're Googling online and some big red websites pop up telling you about all the bad things that are going to happen, the cops are coming to your house to get you, it's garbage and it's nonsense. Unless you're doing money laundering, structure and smurfing, and non-reporting of foreign accounts is just something you tack on there. But you having your account overseas, not reporting it, is usually not going to be a crime. So when you come down to the civil level, there are two main categories. There's willfulness and non-willfulness. Willfulness is basically you knew or you should have known. For example, it could be reckless disregard. It could be willful blindness. There's lots of levels. It doesn't have to be intent. On the other side of the coin is non-willfulness. That pretty much encompasses everything else. There's no bright line test. It's essentially a totality of the circumstance analysis. You look at all the factors and you determine if you're able to show reasonable cause and not willful neglect, there's generally no penalties at all. So if you're out of compliance and you haven't been penalized yet, then you either do the Amnesty programs or you risk a quiet disclosure. I've been practicing for a very long time. My team and I never recommend quiet disclosures, and here's why. Not only is it illegal, and the IRS really hates it, but most of the time you're non-willful. You may qualify for delinquent FBAR. You may qualify for Streamlined Form where there's no penalty. You may have lots of assets that aren't even penalized, like foreign rental property and RRSPs and RIF. So before you just dive head in and commit a form of fraud where you're knowingly filing old forms without going through the proper channels, it's important to take a step back and determine what your real options are under Amnesty. There's currently a Supreme Court case that kind of throws a monkey wrench into everything. It's called Bittner. And the question it's a Supreme Court case, which is rare. And it becomes whether the penalty should be per form or per account. So Joe or Jane has 10 bank accounts. They're worth $1 million. And they didn't file for the 6-year statute. Should they be penalized $10,000 per account per year, or $10,000 per year, like $10,000 per form? In California, you've got Boyd, where the court said, hey, if you file late, but you go back and file reasonable cause, let's say, then you don't get hit with a per account penalty. You get hit with a per year or per form. You only file one form no matter how many accounts you have. You may have to file a supplement. Under Bittner, he got dinged for a number of different accounts that he had each year for the compliance period. I think in Bittner it was for 5 years. A few issues to consider with penalties. If you're willful, you're not going to do the streamlined procedures. That's horrible. There are some attorneys out there who try to push that on you. Just don't do it, okay? There have been a few cases, I think it's Flint was one of them, I believe, where the IRS and the U.S. government pursued criminal charges against people who knowingly make false statements under Streamlined. So voluntary disclosure, if you're willful or you just cannot certify under penalty of perjury that you're non-willful and you pay a 50% penalty, you may be able to you may be able to dispute it with the agent through your representative, but oftentimes they're trying to keep the outcomes consistent, and so they're not really wavering except in extreme circumstances. If you're non-willful, there's various programs. There's Streamlined. Well, the main phrase you'll hear is Streamlined Filing Compliance Procedures, but that's broken down into two different programs: the Streamlined Domestic, Streamlined Foreign. Streamlined Domestic just means you're not a foreign resident. Streamlined Foreign means you're a foreign resident. Under Streamlined Foreign, you can file original returns and FBARs, and there's no penalty at all. Streamlined Domestic, there's a 5% penalty. In order to avoid penalties, especially under Streamlined Domestic, you may want to consider reasonable cause, but with that Bittner case out there, it's a little more precarious, so you got to be a little cautious. We have a ton of free information available on our main website and our sub-websites. You can always reach out and contact us if you want to schedule a reduced fee initial consultation, if it's appropriate to your matter and it's something that we handle here. Again, my name is Sean Golding with Golding & Golding. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.